Hello again. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and today we're going to be talking about industry verticals for technology professionals. So this is a very important concept. It's one of the very important concepts I keep trying to explain to you guys that will have a dramatic impact on your career, but none of you guys even think about it, right? You guys are still worried about your A pluses and your CCNAs and your MCSEs and all that kind of stuff, and yet probably none of you are thinking about your industry vertical at all. Now, what is important for you for success, I would argue, is your industry vertical. What is not important for your success is most of these certifications that you may not actually use anyway, right? How many people out there are going out to get their CCNAs and will never end up actually working on Cisco equipment? So this comes up because I was talking with somebody 2 days ago, actually. I was out at the Big Sky Resort in Montana. This is an absolutely amazing ski resort I got to go take a look at a couple of days ago, and I was talking with the technician there, and we were talking about all the cool equipment that they use, and we were also talking about his career and how to get ahead in his career. Because one of the issues that he runs into out here in the middle of Montana is that in the middle of Montana, there's not exactly a big tech community. Which isn't really a surprise. I mean, basically, in order to get to the place where he works, you have to drive an hour, like from anywhere at all, and even those places you're driving an hour from are not exactly, you know, hubs of technology. So you don't run into people on any given day to talk to them about their technology jobs and what else you can do. So one of the questions he had is, this person is very happy with his job right now, but basically the question of, you know, where do you go in your career, or how do you advance? And the question came up, you know, well, what about the MCSEs and the CCNAs and all this kind of stuff, and what should this person do? And so one of the things that I told this person is that instead of worrying about these certifications and even degrees and all that kind of stuff, that he should focus on his particular industry vertical. So this person has been doing technology at this ski resort for a number of years now, and has learned a lot of technology skills that most people, most IT people, don't even know exist, right? Because that's one thing a lot of you guys don't realize. You guys are so focused on cloud computing and VMware and Python and this and that and the other thing. What you don't realize is that there is a lot of very specialized technology that is used by industries that there simply isn't certification classes for. Or if there are things like certification classes, you have to be in that industry to even be able to attend them. So I was sitting there and I was talking with this guy, and this guy has a very broad range of knowledge, but it's interesting to see how much of that knowledge is really specialized for the ski resort. So basically you go in and they have a hotel, right? So they have their normal hotels and the condos. And so one of the things you guys may not think about, but one of the IT systems that this person had to deal with is what's called the LodgeNet system. So the LodgeNet system, this is how television is distributed to all of the different rooms and all the different condos in the hotel, in the facility. So that is a very specialized piece of equipment that has very specialized quirks and very specialized issues and very specialized ways that it has to get patted on the head and duct tape has to be wrapped around it in order to make it work. Now, have you ever thought about working on a LodgeNet system before? No, probably not. Until, 2 days ago, I had never actually seen the back end of a LodgeNet system. It's just one of those things. If you're in the hospitality industry, you work on LodgeNet systems. If you're not in the hospitality industry, you don't. Beyond that, you go in there, they have the specialized telephone systems in order to do telephones for hotels and all that kind of stuff. Beyond that, he was working on technology for how to, they have, if you go to a ski resort, they have boards that show you what particular ski slopes are currently open and which ones are closed. So he has to work on the technology to actually make those things work, and they're duct taping that. Beyond that, he has to figure out networking in order to get all of these different ski shacks and things onto the main network in very cold temperatures. So it gets down to negative 30 degrees sometimes in Montana. So he has to be able to not just install the networking equipment, but install the appropriate networking equipment for that facility. Beyond that, they have special sensors on the, whenever you go up the ski lift, there's the brake bars. That scared the hell out of me. Apparently there's these bars that break, and if they break, sensors have to go off, right? So this person learned all of this different technology for the ski resort, and so the normal question is, so what do you learn next? Do you learn VMware or whatever? And so one of the things I was talking to this person about is that for his greatest success, that he should look for staying within the particular vertical. So when we talk about verticals in industries, basically we're talking about that industry. So we're talking about the ski resort industry, we're talking about the education industry, we're talking about construction companies as an industry, interior design as an industry. Basically the idea that specific industries use specific types of technology. So instead of worrying about becoming a generalist with all this weird kind of technology, is that you get into the industry, you learn what type of technology that industry needs, and then you focus on that particular industry. So with this person, right, if he goes and he takes the specialized skills he's learned at his current job, he could probably go out and get a desktop support position somewhere, maybe, right? That might be worth a little bit of money somewhere else. Might be able to get a sysadmin, junior level sysadmin position. That might be worth a little bit more money. But if he went somewhere else with the skills he has, most places don't need you to screw around with ski boards to tell you what slopes are open or closed. Most places, a lot of the equipment that he's dealing with, things like cash register systems. Again, you don't think about the IT infrastructure that goes into the hospitality industry. They have point of sale systems. They use something called Squirrel. Have you heard of Squirrel? I actually hadn't heard of Squirrel before. They use Squirrel, so this guy is really good at Squirrel, POS. Right? Well, he has all this knowledge at Squirrel POS, and then he goes to a normal IT job, and nobody's going to care about Squirrel POS. It's not actually, in fact, valuable. So he may be able to go and take his couple of years' experience and be able to go to somewhere else, and they'll pat him on the head and say, okay, you got a couple of years' experience, we'll give you a decent job here. Or if he stays within his vertical, again, goes to a different ski resort, something like that, all of that knowledge that he's picked up here is actually transferable and valuable to where he's going. So instead of going from this job and being able to go to some crappy little job at $40,000 or $50,000 a year, you may be able to go from this job to a IT management position at a different ski resort. Why? Because he has this specialized industry technology knowledge that nobody else does. Right? If you go out, and if you're a ski resort and you have all this wacky stuff going on, and you go and you hire an MCSE, that MCSE sounds great, right? Well, I have an MCSE, I'm a bigwig, I'm important in this industry. Yeah, but do you understand point of sale systems? Do you understand wireless scanners that have to dump their information back into a database? Do you understand all this weird little stuff? Do you understand LodgeNet? Well, no, I've never dealt with that before, right? So even though you've got this really cool certification, that's not necessarily directly transferable to an industry. So one of the things that I want you guys to start thinking about, if you're going to start trying to go forward in your careers, is start thinking about focusing on a vertical. What industries interest you? Construction, hospitality, resorts, education, those types of things, right? Because within all of those different industries, they use special technology. So like right now, in the education world, ed tech is the biggest and greatest, most wonderful waste of money. It's great for us. Well, it's great for us as technology professionals because we make a lot of money from it. It's horrible for us as taxpayers because a lot of tax money is going down the toilet because most of the systems will just never do what they're supposed to do. But here's the thing, right? Again, you're thinking about MCSEs and VMware and all this kind of stuff. But in the education sector right now, if you're dealing with public education, if you're dealing with charter schools, if you're dealing with private schools, they're bringing a lot of technology in for the kids to use. Things like getting specialized tablet computers, right? So every kid gets their own specialized tablet computer with its own specialized interface, with its own specialized security. That's actually rather easy, but then you have to go and you have to train the teachers, you have to train the instructors, you have to train the administrators on how to use this stuff, and then you have to actually be able to make it work within a school environment. All of that stuff is valuable skill sets that there's no really standard certification for, right? So if you're interested in the education world, it's focusing on the education technology. Going into the construction world, again, I used to have a lot of clients of mine that were in the construction world. In the construction world, they have special requirements. They have special software that nobody else uses, Primavera or Master Builder, right? Very powerful software, very expensive software, but it's kind of one of those things until you actually have to maintain it, you're probably not going to maintain it, right? I don't know any 19-year-old sitting down going, you know what I really need to study right now? I need to study Primavera, right? right? Because it's not something that anybody even thinks about. So you get the specialized expertise in that industry, and it allows you to be able to work in that industry much more easily because you understand the technology, you understand the systems, you understand how the systems are being used, right? You know, when all of us went out and got our MCSEs, and Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, it was really simple because everybody had the exact same use case for that technology. You install a server, you install client computers, the server has Active Directory, the client computers, you know, access the Active Directory for security permissions, you get email, you get print services, you get a couple of these things, right? No matter whether you're in construction or medical or education or in the ski resort, that was everybody basically used Windows, Microsoft Active Directory the exact same way. So you could go out and you could get certified in this one thing, and you knew that almost anybody would hire you. Again, we're in 2015 now. Time has moved on. There's all this new technology out there that doesn't have anything to do with MCSEs, doesn't have anything to do with Cisco, doesn't have anything to do with any of this other stuff. It's all very specialized equipment that's surprisingly easy to deploy and maintain, but if you've never seen it before, you don't know anything about it. So the first thing that I want you guys to think about with verticals is just the idea is go out there and take a look at the types of companies that you would want to work for. Would you want to work for emergency services? You know, think about that. Emergency services uses very specialized types of technology. They still use radio systems that a lot of other people don't use anymore, but it's very specialized. You know, is there encryption in there, doing trunking, all that kind of stuff. Again, construction, this. So go out there and focus on an industry that you're actually interested in, or that you already have an in, right? This person already works at a ski resort, already does technology at a ski resort, so he already has an in, right? He's already getting experience there. And then start focusing on learning that type of technology, because that is what will be valuable for you at the end of the day. If you can go from one company in the industry to another company in the industry, and you say, I already know your systems. I'm not just an MCSE. I understand this. I understand this. I understand this. Oh, and you're not using this. You know, at my last company, we were using this, and it was amazing, right? So that's the first thing to be thinking about with verticals. Basically, the idea that every single industry uses its own type of technology. The more you fundamentally understand the industry, you understand the workflows of the industry, you understand the users in the industry, the better everything will go for you. The other thing to think about, and this is one thing I was talking with this guy about too, is a lot of people don't really realize the value of soft skills in the industrial setting. So what I'm talking about with soft skills in the industrial setting is that you fundamentally, again, you understand the industry. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, right? You are in the company and you understand what is going on in the company, and you're able to interact with people. This is one thing I've talked about before, again, with my clients who were the construction clients, is I found most of the construction clients to be complete and utter assholes. But here's the thing, they are actually proud of being assholes. If you call them an asshole, they'll get a little smile on their face, right? It's true, right? I liked them actually, but that's the thing. Like in their world, being rough and tumble and kind of dickish is how they do things, right? So if you're all kind of soft and mealy mouth and you get hired into the construction industry vertical, there's a good chance you're not going to do very well. The reason is because these people screw with everybody, right? And it's expected that you're going to give back. If somebody insults you in the construction world, you are expected to insult them back. You're expected to be rough and tumble. You're expected, all of this different personality stuff. And so if you go in there and you can't interact with the people in the industry that way, it's probably not going to go very well for you. You know, I was talking with this guy. He works at the ski resort, and that's what I was saying. You know, if he looks to go any further in his career, he should look for other ski resorts, that type of thing. And one of the things that I was talking to him about is that this person actually started off as ski patrol. So he knows skiing, he knows interacting with clients, he knows how to interact with guests. Not only does he know how to interact with clients and guests, but he knows how to do that in stressful situations. So one of the things that I was telling him is, you know, if a company is going to be hiring an IT person, not only do they want to hire an IT person that understands, you know, all of the different systems, but again, that is going to fit in with the culture. There are a lot of asshole IT people out there, right? A lot of IT people out there that are really, really, really good with their job and really horrible with humanity, right? Great with servers, horrible with humanity. One of the things I was talking to him about is, imagine if you have a really high-end ski resort, right? You are in the Alps, you have just an amazing ski resort. If you have your IT staff now and then is going to have to interact with the average customer that's running around the ski resort, right? Maybe a kid gets lost, maybe somebody needs some help, this, that, or the other thing. If you have an IT person that is really horrible with people and a kid runs up and goes, "Help, I lost my mommy," that may not go well. It may not go well. Whereas if you have somebody that is used to dealing with those kind of situations, is used to dealing with just this random oddball stuff, that they'll mesh with the environment much better, and it will be good for everybody, right? Because again, an employee for a company is an employee for a company as far as the clients or customers are concerned. So if you have an IT person that's basically a complete asshole to a customer at a ski resort, the customer at the ski resort isn't going to think, oh, that was the IT guy for the ski resort, that's why he was an asshole. What the customer is going to think is, an employee for this ski resort I brought my family to was an asshole. Is that going to go well? You know what I'm saying? That's not going to go well. So with your vertical, not only you're dealing with that specific technology, but it's also just how are things done? What are all the unspoken rules? What are all the soft skills? When you sit down and you're talking with somebody, can you talk about the same things? Again, that's a big thing in the IT world. One of the reasons why I've been relatively successful is there's a lot of subject matter that I can talk about very intelligently that has nothing to do with IT. Right? So when you're sitting down with the CEO, right? If you sit down with the CEO and all of your conversations ever are about technology, servers or scanning systems or this or that or the other thing, that CEO is only ever going to look at you as the geek, right? They may be friendly to you, but they're not going to be your friend. If you can go in and you can talk about other things, so if you, again, like I say, if you're a ski resort and for this person, he loves to ski, used to be in ski patrol and all that, if that person can talk to the managers in the company, can talk with the CEO in the company, can talk with everybody else in the company about ski conditions, can talk about whether, you know, they prefer snowboarding or skiing, or the latest kind of skis, or the latest kind of snow boots, or what's going on in the Winter Olympics and whenever the Winter Olympics is. Those small forms of conversation then open up the relationship that you have with everybody else in the company. Because at that point they're no longer looking at you as simply the geek or as simply like the IT person, but they're looking at you as somebody that has mutual interest. You both can speak the same language about something. And as I've talked about in the technology world, a lot of client interaction that you're going to have, that you should have, is one of the things that you should be doing is you should be trying to humanize yourself. When people look at systems, when they look at networks, when they look at all this technology, they get very scared. They get very, very, very intimidated, right? Right or wrong, it's just how it is. They look at these systems, they get very intimidated. They know their careers and really their lives depend on systems and technology they don't understand. Not only do they not understand it, but they really have very little control over it. And whenever you have that situation, it makes people very scared and very defensive. If you walk in and the only way you interact with a client, the only way you act with the end user is as the technology professional, then all you are is you are simply something that is connected to the servers. You become something. You become a human an avatar of all the technology, of all the systems. And so at that point, it's sad, but it's true, a lot of times you get a lot of crap and you get a lot of flack because of their fear. They're scared of these systems. They're scared of the infrastructure. They're scared of what it all means. You are the human representation of all these things that they're scared of, and then it goes to hell, right? Psychologically, it just goes to hell. Here's the thing, if you can go in there and you can humanize yourself, Don't always talk about servers. Don't always talk about IT infrastructure and all that. But again, you can talk about what the rest of the company is doing. You can talk about the ski conditions. You can talk about this. You can talk about a lot of things other than technology that then humanizes you to them, and therefore they're still scared of the technology. This technology still frustrates them, still makes them scared, the whole 9 yards. But you are no longer the avatar of the technology. You are simply somebody that happens to work with it, right? You are now one of them instead of one of somebody else. And that's the important thing, like I say, is when you go in there and you're working within these verticals, is that your culture, all these soft skills actually come together and match. Now, one thing to be thinking about, though, like somebody with a ski resort, you might be thinking, well, Eli, maybe there aren't any other jobs in ski resorts. Maybe this person wants to get out of ski resorts. You know, you can't always stay in your vertical. Oh my golly. Sometimes you guys get very like tunnel vision on things. Sometimes you can't always stay in your vertical, Eli. Well, that's where you should look, and you should look at other industries that very closely match your vertical. So again, talking with this person, one of the things that I was telling him is that whatever company you go to next, the technology, the infrastructure that you will be dealing with at the next place, the infrastructure should fundamentally look the same as what you're dealing with here, even if the physical layout is different, right? So this person is dealing with beaming network connections to multiple buildings. So if you're thinking, you know, okay, so what other businesses use a lot of point of sale systems, use a lot of buildings that have to be connected together, use these weird little signages and all that kind of stuff. So not only ski resorts is the vertical he's most closely assigned to, but it's also just resorts in general. So, you know, Club Med or Sandals Resorts or, you know, any of these other resorts out there, even though they're not ski resorts, they still use the same basic types of technology. They still have the same basic problems. So if you walk in there, you know, you're going to understand what the technology is. And again, even though maybe it's a scuba resort you go to instead of working a ski resort, you have the same mentality. It's still fundamentally, you're one of the same types of people. So you can think about it that way. You know, is it, you know, that type of thing. Then beyond that, if you can't get jobs there, again, you start looking at just other places where the infrastructure looks the same as what you're dealing with. So maybe, again, look at a college campus. So is a college campus in a lot of ways much different than some of these resorts, at least for a lot of their infrastructure now? You have all the cash registers and things spread throughout campuses for all kinds of food and bookstores and all that kind of stuff. You have digital signage spread throughout the campus. You have to be able to send data, you know, to multiple buildings in a campus facility. So these are some of the things that I want you guys to think about, because again, I get so many questions from you guys, and it's all about frickin' VMware. Should I get my VMware certification? And the answer I will always say is there a chance in hell that you're going to be working on VMware in the enterprise in the next like month? No? Okay, then why are you going to get your VMware certification, right? What I want you guys to be thinking about is focus on learning the technology for your particular industry. Find an industry you like, dive into that industry, and then figure out all this other stuff. Again, like I say, with a ski resort, you know, there's a big thing to say, well, I already understand all the technology that's in this particular ski resort. What else can I learn? Well, what I told this person is go and start researching what the other ski resorts do. What do the ski resorts in the Alps do? What do the ski resorts in Killington do? What do the ski resorts down in South America do, right? Again, this is all technology. It's all bits and bytes. It's all packets getting shipped around. It's all, you know, if, else, then, that kind of stuff, right? Just because it's not what you would consider a server, just because it's not what you would consider a client operating system, doesn't mean it's not a form of IT technology. So that is what I would say for you guys, because I get a lot of questions about this, and again, you know, in this modern brave world, it's not how it was 15 years ago. It really isn't. And so the question is how do you advance in your career? And I would really say focus on these verticals, because you can get into the vertical and then you can become very valuable in that niche. And the two things that happen is, one, you become very valuable because you have a niche skill set, and then two, you become valuable because Again, other people don't know this stuff. You don't have to be worried about your job as much. Again, if you have an MCSE or CCNA, it's rather easy to replace you. Right? That's kind of the weird thing nobody talks about. But right, if your specialization is Microsoft, there's a lot of people out there with Microsoft specialization. Just how it is, right? Again, if you have a specialization in LodgeNet, if you have a specialization in Squirrel POS systems, right? It makes your job just a little bit more secure. Right? Because the reality is these systems are very complicated to understand many times. They need their special ways of being worked with. And how many of people in the world actually have the qualifications to work on those systems? Right? So that is my thought. That is my thought on verticals today. But think about that. Think about the industry verticals, because I think going forward, for us, the whole idea of focusing on a vertical is a completely normal thing, right? Industry verticals, they've been talking about this probably longer than I've been around as a human being, not as a technology professional. Industry vertical is just one of those things. But again, for us as technology professionals, there was so much money to be made where we didn't have to worry about the vertical. Again, you go in, a switch is a switch is a switch is a switch. You put it in you put a switch in a doctor's office, it does the same thing as if you put a switch in a construction company, which is the same thing as if you put it in a ski resort, right? So everybody needed these basic systems. They needed basic servers, and everybody went with Windows servers, and they needed basic client operating systems, and so everybody went with Windows client operating systems, and everybody went with networking, and so either they went with cheap stuff, or they went with Cisco stuff, or they went with Juniper stuff. But basically, for the past 15 or 20 years, we have been deploying basically the same type of equipment to all these different industries, and for a lot of us, we made a lot of money doing that because it was great, right? But again, as we start going forward, all of that infrastructure has already been installed. The servers have already been installed. The client operating systems have already been installed. The network cabling, the cabling has already been run. The Cisco switches are already there. The money and everything else that goes with it is really about installing this new stuff. It's about deploying things. So if you're going out there and you're looking, well, if everybody already has all this basic stuff, you need to be thinking about the equipment that they don't have. And the value then, like I say, is within these verticals. Because what's really cool is you can cookie cutter this stuff, especially like I say, if you're a consultant, is you set up one thing for one construction company, you can basically take the blueprint for that infrastructure and take it to another construction company, and take it to another construction company, and take it to another construction company. And again, as I try to tell you guys, where the real money is, especially as a consultant, is the first time you figure out the blueprint for like one of these construction companies, let's say if that's what you're dealing with, it's really long, it takes you a long time, and it's tedious, and it's hard, and the profit margin isn't really that good, right? Because you spend so much time figuring out what exactly these people need and how to deal with them. Here's the thing, once you figure that out, the next time you go and do it somewhere else and you bill them for a project cost, it's really easy because you already know exactly what to do. And then you do it again, 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 and away you go. You walk in there, you know how to talk with everybody, you know how to be part of the group, you know what their concerns are, you know what their issues are, you have an idea of what their budget is, and it's just really smooth. That is what I would say. So with that is my conversation on verticals. Take it or leave it. I would take it. Verticals, that's what you guys should be focused on, not these certifications. I get so many questions. Like I say, I get so many questions. I get the same type of question I used to get about Cisco. So everybody, I get all these questions. Should I get my CCNA? And what I tell everybody is there a chance in hell you're going to work on Cisco equipment? Well, I don't know, maybe. And then I say, probably wouldn't bother with my CCNA. The reason being is because if you're not actually going to work on the equipment, then getting certified in it doesn't necessarily matter. Again, I've been getting a lot of questions on things like, should I get certified in VMware, right? So VMware has certifications for their virtualized infrastructure. But here's the thing. Are you actually going to be working on VMware infrastructure? Because there's VMware, there's Citrix, there's Microsoft Azure and Hyper-V, there's AWS stuff going on, plus there's 1,000 little smaller players doing all kinds of wacky stuff. So you go out there and you get certified in VMware, Just because you're certified in VMware doesn't necessarily mean there's a job out there for you with that skill. On the other hand, if you get into an industry and you focus on that industry, you can simply just go through and learn the technology that they're actually using. Okay, again, if it's a construction company, okay, we're using Primavera, so I'm going to learn Primavera, and there's also this thing called Master Builder, so okay, I'll learn Master Builder. Beyond that, there's a special way that, they use printers and all that to do work, and, contracts and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you go in there and you're in the industry, basically it becomes very easy to figure out what you need to learn next. You just walk in the door and you look around and you go, huh, what in here don't I understand? I don't understand that. And then you go and you learn that. When you're done learning that, then you go and learn the other thing, learn another thing, learn another thing, learn another thing. And then when you've learned all the stuff within your own infrastructure, you then go schmooze with somebody and ask them how their infrastructure works and see if they're doing anything new and cool and fancy. All right. So anyways, there we go. There we go. So we are still here in West Yellowstone, and I'm still looking behind my back, because my wife is still scared of the bears. Every time we go hiking, she grabs these sticks and starts banging these sticks for 8 miles of hiking. She's scaring away the bears. Ah! But yeah, we've been here almost 2 weeks now, so in a couple of days we're going to be going off to Glacier National Park, and then after Glacier National Park we're going to be going to Seattle, so Seattle should be very exciting. But yeah, not much else to say. We've been here for about 2 weeks, so all the exciting stuff is over. We're just going out and we're doing our normal hiking and all that kind of stuff. We've seen lots of buffalo, insane amounts of buffalo. If you want to see buffalo in the wild, come here, and they're just everywhere. We were on a hike today, and there were just 2 buffalo just wandering. We had lunch, literally 50 feet from a buffalo. There was just this buffalo just sitting there, and then we were like, huh, we're hungry. And so we just sat down, I don't know, 50, 75 feet away from this buffalo. And the buffalo did its thing, and we did our thing, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to be in an environment where you can be that close to truly wild animals. These aren't normal cows. They're completely wild here, so that's kind of cool. But we've seen buffalo, we've seen elk. Haven't seen any bears. Haven't seen any bears at all yet. But yeah, good place. So anyways, with that, I think we'll go have some dinner. Think about verticals. Verticals! What is it? There was some movie 40 years ago where the old person looked the kid in the eye and said, "Plastics! The future is plastics." Well, I'm looking you in the eye and I'm saying verticals. The future is verticals. And I know it's been talked about some in the industry, but I'm just really telling you, going forward, I think the vertical is going to matter far more than a lot of this other stuff that you think is important.